yet is not. I desire not that liberty for myself, which I would not freely and to all the consciences of the world besides.
Governor Haynes, if the magistrates please, may I speak with Master Williams?
Very well, Master Winthrop.
I thank you.
This man's so medicine. Oh, it's very obvious. He must be removed.
He was known in England before coming here for an unsettled judgment and pride of opinion.
Thus he came to be known to us, this man, Roger Williams, as a dangerous intruder and an agent of mischief. Had we, when first he sailed from England, carrying over with him so much strife and trouble to the godly colony of Massachusetts. Together with his good wife, Mary, he had come to the town of Boston in December, 1631. Both were part of that great migration from England, when it had pleased God to send so many of his children, numbering into the thousands, to Massachusetts, following those few miserable pilgrims who in 1620 had settled at Plymouth Plantation. All of us had come in great hope of doing God's work, and Roger Williams, in particular, had much to hope for.
And here, Master Haynes, is the young Master Roger Williams and his good wife.
Your worship.
Master Williams,
Master Haynes.
we in the Massachusetts Bay Colony have much to thank God for, Master Williams. For the marvelous safe passage to so many thousands who have come hither, for giving us such plenty of all manner of food in the wilderness, for sweeping away great multitudes of savage Indians by the smallpox, and lastly, by sending such learned and able young men as yourself to this land.
Thank you. But did I understand you right? You said, for sweeping away great multitudes of savage Indians.
By the smallpox, shortly before we came here. It was God's hand slaying the Hittites and the Canaanites and making room in this land for his chosen. But more to the point, Master Williams, we have heard a lot of you, of your piety and your great learning, and of your reading of the scriptures in the original tongues. And we had determined that upon your arrival here, we should offer you the post of teacher in this church. We do so now.
This church, Boston, will be the largest in the Bay Colony.
It will, with God's blessing.
I cannot accept your offer.
You cannot accept the post.
You have, Master Williams, your reasons.
I have, and it please God. When Charles I came to the throne of England, I was a student at Pembroke Hall in Cambridge in preparation for the ministry. But when I left the college, I found that there was no church in England to which I could go in all conscience. Bishop Laud, with the King's help, had become all-powerful. And this meant to me nothing but that the Catholic Church should be re-established in England, with the King and the Archbishop of Canterbury in place of the Pope of Rome. I was not wrong. Papist ceremonies were instituted. Free speech disappeared. The good bishop's spies were everywhere listening to the talk in the service. To take orders in such a church would be to subscribe slave to the name minister. And this I could not do. Finally, I was harried out of the land.
As we all were, Master Williams. And as the thousands of Puritans in New England were.
Quite so, Governor Winthrop. But allow me to put a question to you.
Please do.
The churches of the Bay Colony, as indeed they must be since I have observed this one, are opposed to the Mass and other such ceremonies. Why then are ye not separated from the Church of England?
Separated? Huh. So that's it. Go to Plymouth Plantation, Master Williams. There shall you find your separatists.
I have heard much good of the people of Plymouth.
Master Williams, may I ask your age?
I am 28.
Yes. You would have us sever all connections with the Church of England?
Since you in no wise agree with its practices.
But do you not see, we must be cautious.
Cautious? Conscience knows not cautious.
Conscience, conscience. One would think that conscience is man's invention.
Should I have refused? I don't know.
And so, from the first, out of sheer pride of opinion, he fell under our displeasure. And soon thereafter, he left Boston and took up habitation at Salem town. But here he gathered about him other fermenters of trouble and contention.
But it is wrong. Boston has no authority to interfere with the Salem Church. They write that they marvel we chose Master Williams as teacher without conferring with them. Conferring with them.
But we do not want to fall into differences with Boston.
That is true. And I for one say this. If Salem is to be dictated to by Boston, I will take my family and go into the wilderness.
Nay, Thomas, you cannot do that. If any must leave Salem, it is I.
Where will you go?
Thus, the people of Salem wisely rid themselves of the man. But Plymouth Plantation was not so fortunate. He next removed there with his wife, and spake on the Lord's Day and weekdays, and his teaching, as the elders of Plymouth told us, was well approved at first, but they too soon suspected that he had fallen into strange, unsound, and unsavory opinions. At all seasons of the year, he left his good wife much alone, and journeyed into the wilderness to trade with the savage Indians and to bring them the word of God. He spent much time in their disease-ridden smoke holes, for he soon mastered their language. But what message he brought them, we know from his rash mouthings. He told them, falsely, that God knows no difference between white man and Indian. It would not have occurred to Master Williams to inquire why the Lord God did smite these filthy savages with the smallpox, giving us all the land of Massachusetts as an inheritance.
Master Brewster, you're welcome on such a cold night. Thank you for coming.
It is cold.
Come over by the fire.
Mistress Williams is well, I trust.
Thank you very well. Master Brewster, let me come out with it at once. My presence here in Plymouth Colony is causing some concern. Speak freely with me.
It is, my friend. Concern not so much among ourselves, but, to put it bluntly,
We are afraid
Afraid?
of Massachusetts.
Ah,
Plymouth Plantation is small and weak. The bay grows stronger every day. We scarcely maintain our numbers. The control of the bay through the General Court is more and more coming into the hands of the divines. Those men of God in Boston, all of whom find opinions such as are held by you to be dangerous in the extreme.
my dangerous opinions?
Yes. You're preaching, for example, that the grant from the king does not give the colonists the right to this land.
But it does not. What right does Christianity invest upon kings to give away the lands of other men? We must compound with the Indians. Otherwise we have no just title to this land.
Is there not, my young friend, a time to keep silence? I must go. Night, Roger.
Night.
There are many in Salem who would welcome you back as teacher.
Yes, there are. I had not wanted our child born in such a place as Massachusetts.
And so it was that the man came once again to Salem town, where this foolish people, against all authority, chose him once again as their teacher. And despite the sound warnings of Master Brewster and others, Roger Williams did not keep silence.
Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, and have not charity, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. Though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains, and have not charity, I am nothing. What charity then have the members of the General Court of the Massachusetts Bay Colony? We have come hither, all of us, to this wilderness, where we have builded houses and churches, and have hewn out of the forest farms and roads and towns. We have come hither for divers reasons. Some in the hope that we might escape body bondage, in the hope that we might, in New England, escape the slavery of our life's meager hours to the owners of the land in Old England. Some of us, many of us, have come in the hope that we might escape soul bondage, that we might in all conscience worship God in freedom. What say then the General Court of the Bay Colony? They say, firstly, none shall be freemen. None shall own land or have any vote in the civil government unless they be church members. And they say further, none shall be church members but those admitted by us, the elect, the chosen of God. Thus, of the churches of the Bay Colony, how many are members? Not half. Not so much as 3 out of 4 of God's children are admitted. Is this escape from body or soul bondage? They say, moreover, that it is the part, nay, the duty of the civil magistrate to punish those who break the first 4 commandments. But I say these are matters between a man's conscience and God, and the civil authorities cannot, must not compel church attendance. shall, these godly Christian magistrates say. You shall worship thus and so. No way of worship can be tolerated within the great colony of Massachusetts but that which we ordain and lay down. And these godly Christian magistrates say all this in a security no hand can reach, for they are themselves the civil authority and can enforce one church, one worship, one faith, with the whip, with imprisonment, with the pillory, with banishment.
The powers that be are ordained of God. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of God. And they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. Romans 13, verses 1, 2, and 5. Roger Williams, you have been summoned to appear before this court to answer divers charges brought against you for opinions tending to heresy and sedition, and for your great contempt of authority, to which I would only admonish you with the words of St. Paul. Mark them which cause divisions and offenses, contrary to the doctrine which ye have learned, and avoid them.
Governor Haynes, may I ask in all humility, who are to be my judges? May I ask then, who are to be the jury?
Master Williams, these proceedings are not a matter of judge and jury. We have requested your presence here today that we might dispute and discuss with you in the hope that, having done so, you might depart in peace.
The Reverend Thomas Hooker, a godly man and a zealous, will speak to the question. The Reverend Thomas Hooker was a most godly man. He spake and disputed all that long day and the next. He spake with the tongues of men and of angels, so that we had great hope that Roger Williams might indeed be drawn away from his erroneous and most dangerous opinions to the greater glory of God. But this was not to be.
Let me state as plainly as possible what I believe. I believe that the sovereign, original, and foundation of civil power lies in the people. This being so, a people may establish what form of government seems to them most meet for their civil condition. But since this government is natural, humane, civil, and not religious, Christian, Jewish, or Papist, it follows that it cannot and must not interfere in spiritual matters, nor redress, reform, or establish any national church.
Sedition. This is sedition.
Governor Haynes, Roger Williams must be allowed to speak.
And so he shall be. Proceed, Master Williams.
I believe further that liberty of conscience, freedom to worship, or freedom not to worship, must be permitted. English kings, after years of bloody persecution, at last permitted the Bible to be translated from the original tongues, so that the simplest man or woman might search the scriptures. Shall we now force anyone against his soul's persuasion from what he finds therein? Having bought truth dear, are we to sell it cheap?
Master Williams speaks of his tender conscience, and yet he sins against his conscience in refusing out of wicked pride to see his errors. plain, however, that he has fallen into error, into heresy, apostasy, tyranny. This freedom, this liberty he seeks for himself, he would surely withhold from others.
Nay, that is not so. I desire not that liberty for myself, which I would not freely and impartially weigh out to all the consciences of the world besides.
Governor Haynes, if the magistrates please, may I speak with Master Williams?
Very well, Master Winthrop.
I thank you. Roger, is there nothing I can say? Is there nothing Governor Haynes can say?
To reduce me from my errors?
But these things can be settled in disputation, in sweet reasonableness.
There can be no disputation here. There sit my judges, gods upon the earth, whose word cannot be disputed by any sweet reasonableness.
Roger, I do not say, as many do, that your opinions are merely willful and giddy fancies or exorbitant novelties. Yet I do say they are dangerous, and I appeal to you, as one who loves you, as do many of these very same men, to reconsider, to recant.
Master Winthrop, I have suffered much in old England as well as new for freedom of conscience. Am I to turn back now? I have but one thing more to say, with the magistrate's permission. Liberty of searching out is hardly got, and as hardly kept. For that precious jewel, New England has already run mighty hazards. But if New England forget the nature of liberty, if it make it a crime for a man to worship or not to worship, as his conscience tells him, if it make it a crime humbly and peaceably to question laws and statutes, or whatever else is publicly taught and delivered, then New England will find itself enslaved and in chains, a captive of ignorance and dark superstition.
It is plain, then, that nothing can turn you from your seditious intent. Thus there is but one course for the magistrates of this court to take. Whereas Master Roger Williams hath broached and divulged divers new and dangerous opinions against the authorities of magistrates, and maintaineth the same without retraction, it is therefore ordered that the said Master Williams shall depart and be banished forever out of the colony of Massachusetts.
John Throckmorton, I'm fine, and I have been almost from the first. Master Cole, it will be hard to sell my farm and house and go into the wilderness again, but I will do it.
Thomas?
I left England to escape the power of the Lord Bishops. I can leave Massachusetts to escape the power of the Lord Brethren.
Francis Weston? Who can that be? Master Winthrop.
Roger. Mistress Williams, may I speak?
Yes, they're friends.
What is it, Master Winthrop?
Roger, you must leave Salem at once.
Leave? Why? The court gave me 6 weeks.
They have reversed that decision. Do not ask why, I do not know. They are sending Captain Underhill with 14 soldiers to arrest you and send you back to England.
To England?
There is a vessel waiting now off Nantasket. You must leave Salem.
But it is winter, and he's been ill.
He must leave now.
Can't you do something, Master Winthrop? Plead with the magistrates.
They would not listen to me. I have just been censured for too much lenience to disaffected souls.
Who will be next?
We'll go to the Indians of Rhode Island. They've sheltered me before, and we'll do so now.
Roger.
Mary. Once again, I bring suffering into your life.
No, do not say so. I would not have lived any other.
Our life is still before us. In a better place than this. You will follow.
You must hurry, my friend.
I will come with you, Roger.
Nay, Thomas. Make your plans well and follow with the others in the spring. Bring Mary and the child.
You have a child?
Yes. A girl. Born shortly after my trial. We have named her Freeborn.
And so Roger Williams left Massachusetts and journeyed far off to Rhode Island. And here he and his people drew up a compact, founding a colony based on the mean and vicious ideas of democracy.
We shall build a place where no man or woman, Jew or infidel or Catholic, need fear the whip, the prison, or banishment for conscience' sake. A place of freedom and liberty. For surely God hath provided and cut out this part of his world as a refuge for mankind.